Thank you for joining our webinar today. Is your organization prepared for the future of work? A guide to navigating the return to work and beyond. If we thought that all the changes that have been taking place over the past 5.5 months were huge, they're nothing compared to the complexity of bringing people back to the office and dealing with the fact that the workplace will never be the same as it was. So we thought this was a good opportunity to bring people together and talk about some of the ways organizations can address all of the changes that they have to make in this new abnormal, and how you can make sure that your employee experience stays on track and gets even better. I am Anna Bruning, the Demand Generation Manager here at Workgrid, and I am pleased to be sharing the stage today with Tom Peniskovic, Director of Customer Success, and Samantha Sawyer, Senior Account Executive at Workgrid. Some quick housekeeping. We'll be saving the last 5 minutes of the presentation today for Q&A. You can use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen anytime during the presentation to ask questions, and we'll be getting to as many as possible. We'll also be sending a recording of the webinar in case there's anything you missed. And just a reminder that attendees today will receive a full copy of our new guide, which covers the 3-phase plan organizations can use to prepare for handling the changes taking place that are impacting how employees get work done. Today, we're going to be focusing just on phase 2. And with that, I'll hand it off to Tom.
Thank you so much, Anna, and welcome everybody. Thanks for having us here. Very excited to be talking with you. For our agenda today, we really wanted to talk about what's bringing us to this table, right? It's what's going on in the workplace that's really brought us this future of work much faster than any of us could have possibly predicted. So for today, Sam and I want to get into some of that with you, talk about the changes we're all experiencing with our customers and our prospects, and we'll get into a high-level overview of a plan that we feel businesses should really use to effectively navigate this change we're going through. We're going to specifically dive in on phase 2 of that plan, the implementation phase, where we'll get into some demos to show you exactly what we mean. And we're very excited as part of that to also share some real-life examples and use cases from our customers and prospects as they approach those changes. So finally, we'll just get through all that and have some open time for discussion at the end. Thanks for joining. Let's get started. So to address this whole return to work concept, Sam, I don't know about you, but work is definitely not left for me. If anything, it's crazier than ever before. Been trying to navigate through it all. I know for the first 4 months of COVID, I had my 1-year-old and my wife here. We're figuring it out together, trying to support the family and a full-time job for both of us. You know, I think we're all navigating this global crisis at the same time and fumbling through some parts of it, but it's been really a big change that we've had to take on. So Sam, how are you doing with the family?
Exactly. I couldn't agree more, Tom. Like for you, work never left for me either. Huge change getting adjusted to working with my new coworkers, including my husband, my 2 boys who are 6 and 2, and my 2 dogs as well. And I really think the bigger issue to discuss is how much work has fundamentally changed in the past few months and how much more changing it's going to do before we get back to what we consider normal. You know, many companies, like ourselves included here at Workgrid, we've already declared that we're going to be working from home through the end of 2020. And at this point, returning to the office in January seems a little optimistic.
Yeah, I think some people are feeling a sense of frustration with that, but I mean, it's the right thing to do. We have to be safe and health conscious. So let's take a quick look at what's happening. You know, as changes begin to go on around these businesses, as they look to bring their workers back into physical office space, you know, regardless of how a company plans to reintegrate those workers into the physical space, at the end result is we're going to have to adapt all over again. We just talked about having to get into these new routines, and it's going to change, and we're going to have to go through that unsettling period one more time as we get into that net new routine after the things are put in place. So to start, I think the physical workplace is forever altered, as offices are going to have to go probably a radical structural facelift to accommodate social distancing in the workplace. We're all still getting used to that. I know when we go out to dinner in the restaurants, but we're gonna have to also figure it out at work. So it's probably gonna undo a little bit of what we've been working towards before COVID to really open that space up and become more collaborative. It's almost like we have to really rethink it now with what we're all going through. So things like assigned seating that had replaced the hot desking, the hoteling concept, probably need to go back to having a dedicated workspace to minimize the spread of germs. Collaboration spaces, we really need to eliminate avoiding large gatherings, so those are probably not going to be as they were before. Other things like as simple as walking around just to chit chat with coworkers. I know Sam and I, we sat next to each other in the aisle. I could roll the old chair across and get going, but it's not something we're going to be able to continue. If anything, it might even be discouraged or all around forbidden just because of the new way of work. So the last one I would say is meeting rooms. When I think about that, I love to pull people together and get into a room together to work through things. I think that's probably one of the last mainstays of the traditional office experience, but it definitely has to go away. I mean, we can't be getting into confined spaces together with large groups. So all those things are need to be thought about, and they're going to have a huge impact on networking and collaboration. And both of these are critical for us in terms of innovation and overall success of our businesses. So organizations really need to figure out, how are we going to bridge that gap for our employees?
Yeah, absolutely. And, laughing a little bit about the squad rooms that we used to scramble to book out, and, there'd be 10 of us in there, and, the collaboration and just the pop-up conversations, are unfortunately are on pause right now as we move forward and figure out the way of the work. And people may never actually return to a physical office space, as companies, as you mentioned, are reevaluating their real estate plans and maybe looking to shutter that expensive office spaces they might have, and really take advantage of some of the benefits of the remote workforce. Having workforces in multiple locations creates new challenges for organizations. It's important that experiences are designed to work equally for both the remote employees and also those that choose to return to the office. And it really is a good thing. From personal experience, a common issue was being remote often made you feel like you weren't in tune with the inner office conversations, those pop-up conversations and innovations that would happen organically. And now it's been a real equalizer for all of us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I remember doing some actual problem solving sessions before COVID because just trying to create that equalization where you are having rapid decisions in the hallway, and now we're all kind of working through it at the same playing field, which is actually nice. But ultimately, what this means, organizations really need to stay laser focused on creating the experiences that really supports their employees today and well into the future. This is the only way we're going to be able to maintain success and continue to attract that talent that's necessary for successful businesses. And this is all amidst a time that we don't know. The only thing that's certain is uncertainty. So it's tough as we look ahead.
That is definitely true. And, here's the 3-phase plan that we've put together to help organizations make that happen. And as we've mentioned, all of these steps will be detailed in the guide that you'll receive after the webinar. The first step is understand what employees need. When was the last time you asked them? How did you ask them? And what did they say? Step 2, implement. That's our main focus for today. And the third step, continue to ask for feedback. Tom and I have a saying that all feedback is good feedback, and continue to be flexible. What worked in March may not work in September. And as needs are changing, which they're changing daily, allow employees to help, navigate what this new normal and be flexible to support them.
Yeah, so before we jump into that second phase, let's really focus in on the first, and that's really where we want to make every decision that's made around returning to work focus directly back on the employees and what they really need. So it's really an incredibly challenging time for workers as we're going through this. We're all dealing with pressures of balancing a lot of conflicting priorities. We're anxious about our own safety as well as the safety of our family and loved ones. Quite frankly, they're nervous. Some of us even outright scared about what could even come next after we've been through so much. So organizations really need to engage in a very open dialogue, as Sam said. We need to be asking the right questions, and we need to be seated at the table with our employees. And that'll help us really minimize these issues so workers can focus on the most meaningful thing, and that's bringing joy in their everyday work.
Mm. So what are some of the things employees need to be successful? There's certainly a lot, but ones that are most commonly heard are pretty straightforward. Better communication, particularly as it relates to all of the information that's needed to feel safe and prepared while we enter this new phase. Things like communications on new policies, procedures, office openings, closing announcements, where to go into the building, to use the north entrance, the south entrance, even where to park, making sure that everyone is informed of what they need to know. Communications around learning and training opportunities as employees still want to, upskill and continue to move forward in their careers. Financial well-being, health benefits, all of these types of communications can really help alleviate the concerns employees have, and they're able to focus on their job when they return as we continue forward. And having an easy way to ask questions because there's a lot of them. Good, fast, and reliable answers are key to an employee's sense of safety and well-being. Fewer distractions. Employees want to focus on what's meaningful to them, their work, and so it's critical to having a great employee experience. And flexibility, the continued ability to work when and where is convenient for them so they can adjust to all the challenges happening in their lives in and outside of the office. And so with the understanding of what employees are looking for, let's take a look at our recommended phase two. Phase two is what we're referring to as implementation, putting employee-focused technology in place that will give workers the right tools, the right access to information, and the right support in order to develop the skills, mindsets, and behaviors they need to succeed in this new way of working. We have a lot of great recommendations that'll help your organization empower every employee, whether they're in a physical office, working from home, out on the road, or on the front lines. So let's get started.
Yeah, so the office used to be the hub of business. We used to be able to walk up to our colleagues, as we talked about, could ask questions right there in the hallways. We could brainstorm together. We could hit the water cooler. My team always made fun of me because I'm drinking a gallon of water a day, so I was there quite a bit. But that's no longer the reality, unfortunately, and employees need and are asking for technology to bridge that gap. So your intranet is certainly a perfect place to fulfill those goals, but you cannot just dust it off. You can't just use your existing site and expect that suddenly your employees are going to flock to it. If your intranet is going to meet the needs of today, you really need to make sure it aligns with how employees need and expect to be able to work today. So you really need to give it the power to finally live up to everything it could be and should be, starting with making sure it can serve as a central location for delivering the critical information that your employees need to feel both empowered and connected throughout your organization.
And doing so is a win-win for everyone. HR can be confident employees have easy access to a single source of truth for important information, and the digital workplace and IT leaders will be glad to finally check off their to-do list a site that employees find useful. Here's what I mean. So on my screen, you can see Navid Financial. That's an example of an intranet, any intranet. Your intranet, it's just for the demo purposes. And for example, we have the Workgrid toolbar here on the left-hand side on our intranet. And the toolbar modernizes your intranet into one that delivers experiences, content, applications, and services employees use daily.
So how can we communicate effectively with our employees, including those, as Sam said, in the office or working at home, even those that might be on the road or the front line? This is going to be a key to your success of navigating all this change in today's workplace. And it is not just a matter of more communication, more channels to communicate through. We all face every day, we're bombarded across all of those. We have Slack, we have Skype, we have email and Teams and text. The list goes on, and that's all part of the problem we're talking about here. So we're already inundated with these communications, What we're desperately seeking is a need for prioritization of what's really important, and it needs to be seen when I want it. So what we actually are talking about is a central location for those important communications that ultimately I, as the employee, can come to trust.
Mm. Yeah, and imagine if the HR teams had an easy way to send out not only the normal everyday communications that are related to benefits and training opportunities, but also those important policy updates to health and wellness communications that are required in these current circumstances. And if they could do that outside of the chaos of email where employees are sure to see it. And what if the internal comms teams could quickly and easily send targeted contextual notifications to employees with critical updates about office closures, new safety procedures, so employees always know what they need to pay attention to no matter where they are? Here are some examples of what we're talking about. So, like I mentioned earlier, having everything in email doesn't always work, and having the same communications to all employees doesn't work either. Employees are looking for a trusted communication in a centralized location. So by leveraging a toolbar on your internet or your mobile device and your desktop, you're able to meet employees wherever they are. And targeted communications can tell your employees exactly what they need to know and when they need to know it. So, thinking about if you're opening offices in different regions or even by different roles, for example, you're able to target those specific employees in that specific region with the information that they need to know and not share the information with employees outside of that region. So, employees know that this is specifically meant for them and that they're able to pay attention. Thinking about if you need to get out an urgent message like an update to quarantine procedures, you may not be able to trust the email to get to people fast enough, or it's buried in their inbox and they don't see it. Think back to when we used to have phone trees. That's no longer reality. Employees need to be able to get push notifications so they can be alerted to the important information immediately. So any updates you can have surface in their Workgrid toolbar, as I mentioned earlier, on their mobile device or their desktop, and they get the information immediately. And thinking of serious communications and ensuring that employees feel more connected to the organization, messages like from the CEO, just checking in on employees, you're able to make sure they surface at the top. You can prioritize based on criticality, based on who they're being delivered from, to organize efficiently for employees so they know where they should be looking first. You're also able to share additional information in what we call a second zone to allow employees to get all the information that they need. If you think back, earlier we shared one of the keys to success is open communication channels and the ability to receive feedback from employees in a quick and easy way. Pulse surveys are one of the ways organizations can check in with their employees to get feedback quickly. They are exactly as they sound, a tool to get a quick pulse on the organization, specific teams, and individuals, receive feedback and be able to take action quickly. We have clients who are leveraging these weekly to check in on teams. How are they feeling during COVID-19? What are the concerns? What should we know? What would you like to share? These can be submitted anonymously so employees feel comfortable giving their feedback, but also allows organizations, as I mentioned earlier, to take quick action and address what is on the employee's minds. These aren't meant to replace those large employee engagement surveys, but they're just meant to get that quick pulse. Surveys should continue to be the norm and be utilized to improve and refine the digital employee experience.
Yeah, some customer examples I think of, Sam, when you're going through this. First, I have a food and snack manufacturer, and they've got employees that actually are still going on site to conduct the manufacturing of their products and get those out to all of us. So they need to be able to target that group with different messaging and information than maybe those that are office or truly remote workers in this time. So having that differentiation or the ability to target is really important. So typical service delivery methods often are suffering from historically detrimental shortcomings, particularly those related to volume or response times. They're just naturally siloed in nature across service centers. It's a big frustration for employees, and I think we can eliminate it or at least reduce costs significantly if you give your employees an intelligent technology that empowers them to handle a lot more of that typical service center tasking on their own.
Mm. So, have you ever been locked out of a system or your mobile device and spend a significant amount of time correcting the issue? Leveraging self-service functionality like a chatbot to submit a ticket, to unlock your phone, or the ability to find your payslip information or your time off balance information provides that seamless experience for users, but also can free up that precious time of your HR and IT help desks to help focus on those cases that really truly need their attention and provide significant improvements to a process that's historically seen as a source of frustration. Here's what improved self-service functionality could look like. As I mentioned earlier, HR and IT teams can leverage a chatbot to procure answers to those top 20 IT HR questions that their teams frequently receive, and able to allow employees to curate answers quickly and in a self-service functionality. So thinking about what are our COVID-19 policies or what do I need to know? I can easily type COVID-19 into the chat and information is surfaced quickly based on my question and also allow me to answer and find the information quickly. If I need more, I can then link out to the appropriate site to read more on my questions. One of the biggest questions that customers had to deal with as they shifted all of their teams remotely, basically overnight, is employees working from home for the first times, and how do I access the VPN? So instead of sitting in a queue for a help desk that could take 20, 30 minutes, you can easily ask the question of the chat and receive the information. I know a lot of our clients found this incredibly useful as they were able to help their employees find the information quickly and direct them where they could find it and not have to wait in these queues. So again, you can quickly link out and have the information that you needed.
Yeah, we've got a few good customer examples that come to mind here, Sam. Like think about, we have a a quick serve restaurant customer franchise, and they were having to get up really early sometimes because they start very early in the morning. They have multiple locations as the owner, and so having to reach those employees at that hour was tough for her to have to get up. So instead now she's got a workflow in place that allows her to actually give access to her employees in a self-service format to access the training information or other documents that they need right from the fingertips on the mobile device or on the toolbar. Some employees might be returning to the office, as we talked about earlier, but many, far more than ever before, will likely remain at home. It won't be enough just to digitize your old paper-based processes and hope that it does the trick. Organizations really will need to provide special tools to help remote employees be productive wherever and whenever is convenient for them as we start to blend our work lives with our outside of work lives. And some of these things that really will be important are making sure they have a seamless mobile access and experience for everything they need to know and do, as well as a better process for managing all of the tasks they have to take care of from across the enterprise. Give them a central way to organize and prioritize all of these enterprise-wide tasks. And last, simplify complex processes such as approvals so they can be done quickly and easily anywhere while they're on the go.
Improvements like these would be a big check mark in the done category for digital workplace and IT leaders who are looking to make sure that every single employee always has easy access to resources they need to operate at peak levels. Imagine if your remote teams had this kind of power and flexibility. So thinking about approvals, I'm pretty sure that no one on this webinar has joy in logging into Concur or Oracle or ServiceNow to process approvals. Typically, these are what are pushed to the bottom of the inbox, and I'll handle it on Friday when I have a few hours to just process them all at once. Employees are pulled in so many different directions. They need a process that's super quick and helps them be productive from wherever they are. Thinking about, even though a lot of expense travel isn't happening, expenses are still coming through. They need to be approved in a quick and timely fashion, or you're getting those reminder messages back from Concur. Through the Workgrid toolbar, you're able to quickly surface what I need to take care of, take a look at the expense, that all looks great, and hit approve, and again, move on with my day. You're able to process these from wherever you are. So from your mobile device, if you're out taking your kids to practice or school, or you're just out traveling and away from your desk, you can process these again from wherever you are. This is asynchronous, so it works with all of the systems, and whether it's on your mobile device, your toolbar, or your desktop, all of it is taken care of at once. Another way to really help employees be productive is tasks. So you may have tasks that are assigned to you from different systems that you work with on a daily basis, your manager, and then also those personal tasks that, on your development plans that you want to take care of. You're able to curate them all into one list. So you're able to prioritize what has been assigned to you, what you want to complete, and what is expected to be completed. All of them can be handled in one task list. It's a centralized place that's organized, and you can take a look and prioritize your day based on what needs to be accomplished. One of the other asks that we're getting a lot from our customers is the ability to help them streamline complex workflows that they have, like onboarding. So companies are onboarding employees remotely, some for the first time ever, often more, and others more than ever. So having a workflow that allows you it's triggered based on an event or based on a date, you can then put those tasks into the employee. So thinking if you're a new employee, what has been assigned to you from a leader, you can then help them know what they need to take care of, what's expected of them. The managers can see what they're completing, but also the employee can work a little more autonomously and not feel that they're constantly pinging their coworkers of what do I need to do next, or how do I find our health benefits. They're able to have that information right in front of them and operate on their own a little bit more.
And another example that isn't here on your screen, but just one of our customers has, a reporting app that they've centralized an integration with both Power BI and Tableau, and in one place now they have that self-service capability that gets them the reports they need, whether it's on a mobile device or on their laptop. So again, just empowering your employees with the information that they need.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, hopefully by now your organization has already replaced your possibly old school paper-based processes with more digital ones. I mean, we just expect it, and the employees expect it.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't, you probably want to. Your employees definitely need that, and your ability to provide them with it will significantly impact how long you can attract and retain that talent. So thankfully, there are plenty of options to help you modernize your enterprise. Things like automation, AI, chatbots, etc. We hear about these every day. These technologies can definitely help you automate tasks for employees and provide them with that modern experience that they've come to expect every day.
Yeah, and leveraging micro apps to make interactions with complex systems easier is a great way to start simplifying the workday for employees and improving their overall employee experience. Micro apps eliminate frustration and simplify the workday by abstracting the most common tasks and information like time off balances and payroll from back-end systems. So thinking about it from the employee's perspective, what does the employee want to do? For vacation, they want to reach the beach. How do they reach the beach? We make it easy. We take 5 steps into 1 step. So we had a customer who they wanted to streamline and make it easier for their employees to take unexpected time off, mostly related to COVID. So they wanted to reduce the step. If you think about if you needed to unexpectedly take Friday off, there's typically 5 or 6 steps that you need to take. You need to log into your HRS system, submit your out of office, check in with your manager, and in the busy day, you may forget one of those steps. So having a micro app that brings the functionality from the system of record and streamlines all of those steps to make it quick and easy, they found incredibly beneficial. Let me show you what I mean. So if I wanted to take Friday off, all I need to do via the Workgrid toolbar is click on Friday, vacation, or of office. And then I can opt to block the dates on my Outlook calendar so I don't have to remember to curate an out of office, and also and set up my out of office message. Out of office, and easily hit submit, and I'm done. It is now communicated with our HRS system to take the time out of my available FTO balance, set up my out of office in Outlook, and also communicated to my manager that I will be out of the office on Friday and all of the teams that I work with. So much easier than the 5 or 6 steps that I would have had to take, and most likely have forgotten at least one, as I typically forget to set up my out of office. And at Workgrid, we're also using custom micro apps to help connect our teams. We've built an app called Meet Me At, and it's that virtual water cooler where employees can send out an invite for a 15-minute catch up, and hoping to stimulate those conversations that we all used to love, those pop-up conversations that we all used to love in the office.
Well, thank you, Sam, for going through all those demos, and thanks everyone for listening. Just to summarize, this is a challenging time for organizations and employees, and we're in this together. So the landscape's going to change and is changing virtually minute by minute, and it can seem almost impossible for us to keep up. But there is good news buried in here, and it's what employees need the most right now in this constant change, in this uncertainty. It really isn't all that different from what they had needed a year ago or what they'll need in a year from now. So simply, they want the tools and information that they need to be effective in their role without doing a lot of fluff that just complicates their workday and takes them away from those tasks. So as we've discussed today, I think there's some keys to providing that experience for them. And first, centralize the information so it's easy for employees to stay informed and they can find what they need without having to jump through hurdles. Make it as seamless as possible. Second, provide personalized contextual communications. Target those employees. If you have office workers, they need different, office workers that are now remote, they're going to need different information than your employees that may actually be going back into a manufacturing facility or maybe are impacted by fires or in some other area of the country. You need to reach them on a personal level. Empower your workforce with that effective self-service so that they can do their jobs as quickly as possible. And support working whenever and wherever employees are as we figure out our own schedules and adapt back into these new norms that are forming almost daily. Last, simplify the workday by creating an experience design for employees' needs. Organizations that can make this happen won't just amply prepare themselves for the return to work, but they'll be prepared for a long-term business success.
Thank you so much, Tom and Sam. That was an absolutely great demo, and you really highlighted a lot of really important points. So thank you very much. We do already have some questions that have been coming through. Great. If you are on the line and having a burning question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to send us a question. We're going to answer as many questions as we can right now. And if there's any left over, we'll definitely get back and follow up with those. So to kick things off, the first question, isn't this giving employees another place to go? Isn't Workgrid another tool to further complicate things? Sam, I'll kick that over to you.
Thanks, Anna. Well, that is a common question that we get from a lot of customers. And really, Workgrid is a digital employee experience layer that surfaces the moments that matter out of the systems that your employees use on a day-to-day basis. So it's taking all of those systems of places they have to go, like approvals and communications, and putting it into one centralized location. So it's really the only place that they need to go to get everything that they need to know when they need to do it and what they need to do with it.
That's great. Question number 2. You cover a lot of examples here. How do you recommend implementing these changes? Tom, I think that's a good question for you.
Yeah, I can take that one. So I think, there's probably a few things that come to mind. First, you really need to work to identify your simplest needs to achieve that 80%. You think about Agile and minimum viable products, MVPs, you really need to start small. Start with that first step. So identify what that is by talking to your team. Engaging your employees for feedback in that process will help you, and then that'll also facilitate you adapting over time after you go live. So I think understand your data. You know, what's key to this, we talked a lot about targeting and getting to the right information to the right people. So you need to understand the data. What do you have available today? What do you need in order to effectively reach them? And that'll help you be successful in that. Next, I'd say build your team for success. And what that means is some of these integrations we talk about that helps really make this one experience, one cohesive experience for your employees. It requires you to start by building bridges with the relationships across your enterprise that can help you be successful. So you need those key integration contacts to be at the table with you. And last, I'd say just prepare to measure success. I mean, you need to think about where you're at today and where you want to be in the future. So defining that baseline is a great start that you can measure back to as you progress.
Sam, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I really think, Tom, you explained it really well. Really the biggest piece, I think, is, to Tom's last point, is measuring success and defining that baseline. And we start by, what does success look like, and measure over time. So we have small, achievable goals, but also that employees see value quickly and then continue to build adoption over time so that they know they get comfortable with the solution and are able to understand what value it provides back to them.
Excellent point. Here's another question. Our organization is going to be onboarding many people remotely over the next 12 months. Where do we start? Sam, over to you.
Great question. We are hearing this a lot from a lot of different customers, as in current state of affairs is folks are going to be joining organizations remotely. Really, it's twofold. One, setting up the new joiner for success, but also setting up your leaders and your teams for success, because there might be folks who have never onboarded someone remotely or don't onboard people frequently. So you can think about it in what does that path to success look like, and chunk it out into 30, 60, 90 days perhaps. And then what are the tasks necessary to get an individual going on day one? And you can work them into a workflow, which can be triggered based on date, based on actions, roles. There are lots of different configurations that our teams can work with you to set everyone up for success and ensure that day one looks the same regardless of where you start.
Great. Okay, a couple more questions. This one is for Tom. How long does it take to implement your solution?
Yeah, so we have at Workgrid small and large customers alike. I mean, we've found that we can help customers get to implementation within 8 weeks. So our whole goal is to try to get you up and running and getting that value out of the box as quick as possible.
And the last question we're going to go over today, can Workgrid work with any internet, even a SharePoint site?
Yes, we work with any. We have customers who've asked that question, so don't worry. It's not a bad question by any means. We work with any and all internets. It's really understanding what your goal is of your internet and helping you achieve the amplification and making it a place that your employees know to go to for information, and helping bring more eyes and attention to the news and events on the internet, along with having everything in one place for your employees. But yes, we work with all internets.
Perfect. Thank you. And with that, that's a wrap. Thank you to everyone for joining our webinar. Thank you, Tom and Sam, for sharing your insight with us. I hope you all found this a valuable discussion. We'll be following up with any other unanswered questions and emailing you a recording of today's webinar shortly. If you have any questions that you think of later on or are interested in finding out more about Workgrid, please get in touch with us at contact@workgrid.com. With that, I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.